Um, it's my first YouTube video, and I am trying to build something here where we think about things logically. All right, we live in a world where everybody's in their corners, picking and choosing their facts, and this is getting ridiculous. Look at the presidential election we have. There's no facts. There's no truth. It's just manipulation of truth and people lying to you and making all of us fight each other. And the first thing I'd like to go over is what I'd like to do. I'd like to bring a little bit of logic, bring a little bit of systematic thinking into this process and only follow the logic wherever it takes us. And I'm only human. I am pretty much limited by my own biases, my own preconceived ideas, and that's just the way it is. But the goal is to try to be impeccable with the logic. Whatever the discussion is, we take things that nobody can say are false, things that are absolutely true and everybody knows it, and we go from there. We take 2 or 3 facts and we just build. And then whatever we build, since it's based in logic, we can discard that part of it, put it to the side, and then maybe have a discussion of feelings and opinions that is limited by whatever we created, right? So in the conversation, we don't go to the ridiculous like we so often see here on YouTube. And my commitment is to try to start having reasonable conversations again, not just on YouTube, but at the dinner table, with friends and family, or with the person on the street, that you guys just happen to like bump into each other and things get bad. We're seeing people in this country like go to war and film it and put it on YouTube. This is ridiculous, right? So let's try to extract a certain truths from all these nonsensical arguments and move on from there. So the first one I'd like to go over is masks. We've been lied to from the beginning about masks in both directions, useful, not useful, whatever. So I'd like to draw out certain things that we can point out and go from there. Coronavirus is a respiratory virus, okay? And respiratory viruses are evolutionarily driven to make the person sick and let their offspring just like spread their wings and fly, okay? What we have are masks, and the theory is that these masks stop those droplets from flying. And from a physical standpoint, we can take it as true that it does something. Anybody who tells you what it does is full of it. We don't know. The science hasn't been determined. And one of the problems with the world today, this country in particular, is we're invoking science from a place of ignorance. And it needs to stop. So, what else? The 6-foot rule. As far as I can tell, that was made up 100 years ago during the Spanish flu. I could be wrong. I don't know. But it's arbitrary, and it's a line. What I can tell you is 6 feet while talking to somebody, if you're sick, is better than 1. Okay? The other thing, let's dispense with the nonsense that we can't prove. It doesn't matter what you think about China, whether it's engineered or America engineered it, or, what's that thing? The Illuminati created it. Come on. We don't know that to be true, so let's stop talking about that until we can prove it. Let's dispense with what is, for the time being, seems like nonsense, and talk about what we can talk about. Now, I'd like to inject a little bit of feeling here. Whoops. Don't edit that, okay? When I'm doing these arguments, when I'm going to construct here, I want the undertone of this to be just what is doing the right thing and what does that mean? All right? Put this logic in that context and we'll go from there. All right? What they're not telling you about the coronavirus and about the masks is they don't know shit. They only have best guesses. The science is not out yet. The science is not resolved yet. They're guessing based on other viruses. They're making good, educated guesses, but they're going to get it wrong. Modeling something new is never going to be accurate. So let's stop saying they got it wrong. They should have told us it's a best guess thing. They should have told us. And we don't know for sure. Because maybe if they said that, we wouldn't be at each other's throats. So my point. Masks stop at least some of the droplets from going so far. From your breath, from your sneezes, from when you're talking. Distance is a function. Getting infected is a function of distance if someone is sick, right? If you're up face-to-face yelling at them, chances are much better you're going to get sick if they're across the room and you're having a civil conversation. All right? So what we can say about the 6-foot rule and masks and all this nonsense about it's... And I want to preface this because I am dead center on the political spectrum. I have opinions on the left and I have opinions on the right. And in the interest of this channel, I'm not going to divulge them as much as possible. I just want to see the logic. But on the one side, it's an abridgment of freedom. Give me a break. It's not an abridgment of freedom. It's a minor damn inconvenience. So get over it. On the other side, if you're allowed to protest, you're allowed to go to church. Both are covered in the First Amendment. Get over it. I'm not saying you should do one or the other. But if you can do one, you can do the other. If you can't do one, you can't do the other. Period. Dot. That's a double standard. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you are. Logically, that's a double standard if you believe in our First Amendment. Now, talking about expected value. Anybody who's taken a business class or business math class knows about expected value, right? What are the chances of winning the lottery times actually winning the lottery? And then what are the chances of just losing your dollar, right? 1 out of hundreds of millions of times you're going to win the lottery. So basically you're losing money unless you're that one guy who wins the lottery, right? And even then, if you do it over and over again, it's a losing proposition. So, with that said, we try to make the connection. If they're lying to us and masks do nothing, we suffer a minor inconvenience. Period. Dot. Sport our Will Smith ears. Whatever. I don't care. Right? That said, if they're right, if there's just a 1 in a million chance that you kill somebody's mother, somebody's daughter, somebody's father, somebody's son, brother, nephew, grandma and grandpa especially, right? If there's a 1 in a million chance, right, you'd kill them. Isn't it just worth it to wear the mask? Right? So when you think about it we have 2 cases. Either the politicians are full of crap and we suffer an inconvenience, or they're right. And don't think about it in terms of saving lives. Think about it in terms of if they're right. You took that mask off and you were cavalier with your shit. Can I say shit on YouTube? Okay. Think about your mom or your dad or your grandparents and how you would feel when you think, holy crap, all I had to do was put on a mask. And now they're dead. Sure, the chances of that are 99.9%. This is what some people are saying. Unless it's elderly, as much as 80% survival and 20% lethality. Put yourself in that situation, looking back, and think, all I had to do was wear a mask. So my message is, get your heads out of your rear ends, put on a mask. It's not that big a deal. All right? And if you, on the flip side, if you can protest, they can go to church. As you can see, both arguments. One is conservative, one is liberal. Both positions are full of it. And we need to call out our leaders because they're pitting us against each other. They're banking on the fact that we cannot and will not think this through. They have decided to play this battleground, not on good terms. I wouldn't be surprised if Pelosi or McConnell have a backdoor agreement to keep us divided so that they can win the lie to us argument, the deceive us argument. They're playing that game as far as I believe. Now, this last part I cannot prove, and it's not facts, but that's what I feel, and that's what I intend to try to stop or begin to stop. So, what they're not telling you about masks is really they don't know anything objectively. They're going by best guesses. And by the best guesses and the things that I've laid out, it's not too much of a cost to wear a mask. And if you look back, when the seatbelts were introduced, it was the same resistance, this emotional, I don't want to put a seatbelt on. Something that still happens to this day, 40, 50 years later? It's ridiculous, right? Is there that 1 in a million scenario or 1 in 1,000 scenario where the seatbelt actually does more harm than good? Yes, there is. But as a general rule, wearing a seatbelt saves lives. Now, I don't want to talk about a discussion on whether that's our government's duty to impose upon us or not. It is our duty to do the right thing, no matter what they say. That's what this country is supposed to be all about. Standing up, unified for what's right. And I think I'm repeating myself, so this is my first video. Hopefully there'll be more. Be safe. Think of your loved ones. And just try to start putting the nonsense we hear on YouTube and on Google and on MSNBC and Fox News. Try to put that through the filter of, does that make sense? Anyway, cool. That's about it. And thank you for your time.